Hey guys, welcome to BP the Bible Perspective. Let's talk about Sage's I don't identify as black problem. What is that problem? White people's eyes. Now before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Now if you don't know who Sage Steele is, she's a former ESPN reporter who departed the network after 16 years under not too friendly terms. But I'm not here to talk about her career at ESPN. I want to focus on her race identity. She is biracial and she has made some controversial statements about how she identified as biracial and not black. I want to dissect that because what does that mean? Okay? And of course, even this, why would she have to push back upon that? Why would she have to say, let's go out of her way to identify as biracial? Now, Sage Steele is a black conservative. Now, I'm going to correct myself here and say because I'm sure she would push back on the term black. But I would say she falls into the Republican slash conservative category. I'm going to say black because when you look at this picture here, you see a black woman. I'm going to get more into that. But as black conservative, she was also even complimented by saying she is the Candace Owens of ESPN, which she took that as a badge of honor, meaning a black conservative woman with they share the same ideology. And so with black conservatives, they tend to go out of their way to try to distance themselves uh, from really the being black. Okay, and I know that they would push back on me for saying that. I want to dissect a interview that Sage did recently in light of her leaving ESPN, but the issue of how she identifies as biracial. Now, it's important to understand that when she says, I identify as biracial, what she is saying, she really is saying, I identify more as white. And I would prefer that when people see me, that they see the white side. She is mixed, so her parents white and black. And so she goes out of her way to emphasize the white side. Now, having heard this interview, listened to this interview, um, I don't criticize her for that. What I'm going to raise, the question I'm going to raise is, how do white people see you? See, because when you talk about biracial, and we're talking about being categorized as a black woman, which she doesn't want to be categorized, why do you think you're categorized as black? Let me ask another question. Has ever has ever a white person ever identified you as a white woman? All right, so let's get into the interview, and then I'll come back and deal with this on the other side.
Speaking about Barbara Walters interviewing you in a 2014 episode of The View, and she was pressing you hard on categorizing yourself as black versus biracial, something that would not fly in 2023, even with Barbara, even with Queen Barbara.
Now, I want you to take note of that. Barbara Walters, the late Barbara Walters, a white woman, a trailblazer in the news industry, and a lot of times women, they do revere her because she is a trailblazer. But notice the emphasis of pressing Sage to identify as black. Now I'm going to circle back around it, but I want you to take note of that, okay? Because I want to deal with the question: why? Why was Barbara so insistent on saying to Sage, identify as black? Okay.
It was those comments that you made about then President Obama. Looking back, do you regret that you brought him up in that conversation that was very personal to you?
No. And again, the reason I brought it up, and you just said it, context is essential as journalists. And when you look at the entire clip, it was just me repeating what had happened in 2014 and how this has been a topic, frankly, my whole life, where as a biracial, well, how do you identify? Are you this? Are you that? And I'll say it again. I am proud to be both. The joke that I said it on Megyn Kelly yesterday. I've been saying it for years. Like, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure my white mom was there when I was born. So for everyone saying that I need to identify as black and be part of the movement, well, first of all, who are you to tell? Who am I to tell anyone how to identify? And that goes both ways. I am.
Okay. So when she says again, she's identifying as biracial. She says she's proud to be black. I would disagree with her, and this is my opinion, and I know she would push back on me. And I agree with her. I have no right to tell her how to identify. If she says she's proud to be black, okay, I'm going to give my opinion. I just don't buy it. I think she wants to be identified more as a white woman, because notice what she's saying. Notice she mentions her white mother, not her black father, but her white mother. So as a biracial person, she's equally both. She's both black and she's white. So why does she want to identify more as a white person than a black person?
If I'm walking in the airport and someone's, oh yeah, identify me as black, that's 100% fine, because I'm so proud of my black side, as I am of my white side. Barbara Walters.
I've yet to hear her ever express any pride in being black. Now, I yet to see where she has expressed, and I'm not talking about the fact that she has to wear a dashiki and raise her fists up and say Black Power. But just listen to what she's talking here. Listen how she is expressing herself here, right? And if you notice, she hasn't mentioned her black father. She hasn't mentioned her black father once, but she mentioned her white mother.
Brought up President Obama. He was president at the time, and I said, great, that is a fact. He can identify how he wants. And when I talked about his black father, he's written a book about his black father not being there, which breaks my heart. It's a fact, and he chose that, and I can choose this. And I think at the end.
So let's also add context to what she was doing when she mentioned the president's black father, in which, yes, he wrote in a book that he abandoned them. Her criticism was, well, why would he want to identify as black when his black daddy abandoned him? So let's be clear what she was criticizing. Okay? So she wasn't just, when she said it breaks my heart, it didn't break her heart. She was being very, if you go back and listen to the interview, she was taking a pot shot at him. Remember, now she's talking very, very contrite here. Okay? Don't be fooled by this. This is not her personality. She is very abrasive. She's very, very boisterous. Okay? And this is what gets her into trouble. And this is what has gotten her into trouble. So she was making an insultive statement about Barack Obama, his black side. Okay.
End of the day, that's the bigger story here, right? And maybe not story, but lesson is for some people to be able to tell others how to identify. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But that person to not be able to stay true to who they are, that's where the hypocrisy lies. That's where I say enough. We are very open about other people identifying as what they want to these days with the LGBTQIA plus crowd. So, and transgender athlete. I mean, we're very open about everyone being able to be who they are. Unless you're biracial and you choose to say I'm biracial, not black,
Well,
we
that's an
can't
interesting
have it
point.
both ways.
I'm gonna stop it here. It is a good point, but it's almost like she has a crusade to say, let's talk about biracial kids. But what does she mean by biracial kids? Now, we'll keep this in mind. What does that mean, biracial? In order to understand what my point here, we need to kind of go back to the very origins of this nation and the cognitive dissonance of this nation, who said that all men were created equal, while singling out a race of people, black Africans, and enslave them. Then you have to kind of say, how are you able to do that? How are you able to condition people who said that all men are created equal? How do you condition people to say, except this group of people, they are not equal with us? And what they did was through science, through religion, especially the Christian religion, especially what we now will call the evangelical, okay, and through science, so-called, they changed the parameters and said that black people were inferior in every way. So that if you had, and this is what's called the one drop, the one blood drop rule, just one drop of black blood, you were black. And thus you were categorized as black and inferior. It was so bad because remember how you had biracial kids in the first place. You know, the slave masters creeping down in the slave quarters and impregnating the black slave women. So that's how you have people who look like Sage, right? She looks mixed. And when people look at her, this is why when they see this, and I think she's a gorgeous person, but they see a black woman. They don't see a white woman. They see a black woman. And that's her problem. White people see her as black. And that conditioning that goes all the way back to the origins of this nation with slavery and Jim Crow. And as I said, even the Christian nation, even the Christian church conditioned uh, evangelical Christians. Black people were inferior. That was God's will. So when they look at this picture here and they say that's Sage Steele, they're looking at a black woman. They're not looking at a white woman. And here is the interesting thing: no matter how she tries to fight for see me as white, they can never overcome that. See, they can never overcome how this nation has conditioned them. That's why when she says biracial, the biracial part puts her in the black camp. There were black people who looked so white and they wanted to be in the white world that they would disown their black heritage, any trace of black. In other words, they looked so white, in order to blend into the white community, they would move away from their families, move away from their communities, move away from anyone who knew them, and live as a white person. And if it was ever found out that they had just one drop of black blood, they were ostracized. I have to wonder sometimes how some kids might have come out, but that's another issue. You see, the point is, when I say, and I leave with this question here, and I say, when she says she want to identify as biracial, meaning white, because remember, in all that interview, she never mentioned her black father. She mentioned her white mother, and she mentioned the fact that she wanted to identify as a white person, right? So the biracial part on her is see me as a white person. Her problem is that people see you as a black person. That's the conditioning of the culture and the nation you live in. And again, I'll close with this question. Has any white person ever identified you as a white person? All right, guys, that's my perspective. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought, a comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. Till next time, I see you in the next video.